YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, you gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, boy. You gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU Sports Lab.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. The crew is together. The golf team is ready to go. Who wants to join the rest of the team today as we move on and get it going? Mike, I know you're taking care of a lot of business, so we're going to start with you. How are things going for you?
Oh, pretty good, Doc. CB. Good to be back. Just came from Denver, Mile High City. Great weather. Had a chance to even take a bourbon sipping course while at my son's lacrosse tournament. But it was excellent, man. Had a chance to get some of the tailgating area for the home run contest while I was there. I only could stay there long because of the schedule, but it was great. So glad to be back.
Charles, do you think we gonna let him just slip that in there like that he had a bourbon sipping class that he snuck off to doing work? And
I know, I'm listening. I'm all ears. I'm like, really? Bourbon sipping class? Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I learned so much more. I know so much more about bourbon than I knew about 3 days ago.
I bet you do. I bet you do. We trying to figure out how can we be down.
I know, exactly.
So
go to you, Charles. How you doing?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Getting all geared up and for next week for Swag Media Day in terms of preparing and all things that need to be done before next week. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to this fall football season, and we kind of get the curtains pulled back next week at Swag Media Day.
Man, that's a great point. Let's just lead off with that. I'm with you. I'm quite excited. I mean, it's literally a week away. By this time next week, we would have closed out on the event. I literally would be in the air. You would be on the road driving back to Jackson, that is, as you got extended stay. Mike will be heading back to Atlanta to take care of some more business, but everything would be essentially in the bag. Roy would be on the road, getting ready for some additional production stuff that he got to get to, but everything would literally in the bag. So I'm going to stay with you, Charles, and I'm going to ask you, before I get in here to ask you this question, I'm going to put out a little bit of a tease, so I'm going to give you a chance to think about it before you answer. What do you think is going to be the biggest storyline? Before you answer that, let me say welcome to episode 155 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports, institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. after that little tease, I'm back to you, Charles, because today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. To let everybody know, today's show will be a good one, as we will be discussing the latest HBCU news and sports, which will be, in this case, Charles' thought on the headline coming out of next Tuesday. Coming up, we will interview Justin Tabor, with Vice President of Lone Star Sports, Inc. He is managing the Arlington Football Showdown between Southern University and Texas Southern University and Global Life Park. With that, let me go to you, Charles, in regards to what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean,
the story coming out next Tuesday.
Yeah, I almost don't know where to start. I mean, I think when you take a look at it, I think the initial thing, in terms of unveiling, we've had a lot of player churning. So I think some coaches will want to talk a little bit about some of the guys that they were able to get in the transfer portal. I think you're going to have coaches talk a little bit about name, image, and likeness and how it affects their program. Of course, the overriding storylines are we have two new teams coming into the Southwestern Athletic Conference in Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. And let us not forget that Alcorn is moving over to the SWAC West, the jungle that is the SWAC West, with Southern Grambling, Prairie View, and now an upstart UAPB. So I think you have a lot of storylines going into next week. It should be a lot of fun in terms of what coaches let us in on next week.
No doubt about it. But that's why we pay you the big money, Charles. You got to have to do better than that. I'm going to let you marinate on a little bit. I see you teased around and you gave us all these plots and storylines. I want to know, if I had to hedge my bet, what's the biggest storyline coming out next? So I'm going to shift to you, Mike. I know you'll play with me. Charles don't want to play with me right now.
So each time you have a media day, one in person, it takes on its own personality. The coaches bring the personality. They bring the players, they bring the personality, they bring the attitude. So you've got a new coach down in Southern. You got Coach Simmons, you got Terry Sims from Bethune coming in. Now you got two new coaches. You have a media day without Dawson Odom. Who's gonna have that personality? And then of course you got Alabama A&M coming in as the spring champs with a little chip on their shoulder. So I wonder which coach, which team is going to have the most personality, the most attitude. They always pick the preseason winner. So I want to see who's gonna show up there with we're gonna talk about all of that stuff, name, image, and likeness. Yes, we're gonna talk about post-COVID concerns. Yes, we're gonna talk about matchup. Yes, we're gonna talk about the new schools coming in. But I want to see which coaches, because this takes on a different personality. This is the first time, the first glimpse that we see all of these new coaches in the same arena at one time. And yes, they'll be cordial at first, but when you ask the right questions, you're going to get some attitude, you're going to get some flair, you're going to get some confidence going across. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
No doubt about it. Mike went a little bit better in there with you, but none of y'all want to play with me today. So let me go with what they say. What is going to be the biggest storyline coming out of next Tuesday for the first HBCU Media Day? We got an announcement that the MEAC Media Day is coming. They formally put that out to today, so we'll get a chance to tell everybody about that. But let me welcome some people into the lab appropriately. We got Chuck Hunt, Sarah Beverly, Wild, Meyer, Will, Mercelin is on, Karen Griffin, Belinda Johnson, Jerome Jeep Sutton, Michael Ford, Jay Mack is on, ATL is present, Carlos Brown, AD, congratulations to AD, congratulations, no doubt, shout out to AD on his big week. We're going to call it the whole big week, certainly his big day. Christopher White, Henry Austin, who else we got in here? Karen Griffin said the big news of the day is going to be UAPB. Interesting. Dwight Moore. Chuck called all of the West except for TSU. Oh, my goodness. Lonnie Shaw says he's in class. Chad Cooper. Let's see. We got Michael Lee is in here. Oh, Michael Lee, come on in. Appreciate you. Let's see. Anybody else? Tell me what you think is going to be the biggest news of the day. J Mac says the new man at the helm for the MEAC. I didn't know that came out yet. Dwight Moore says MEAC McNair is the only modest head coach left. The shots will be fired. No doubt about that. In a lot
Thank
of ways.
you. Shots will be fired. Look at Michael Ford's comments.
What did he say?
He said Connell Maynard is going to act a fool.
Yeah. Go on and put it out there. Great one. Keep them coming. Kay Johnson says, good evening, Lab Fanatics, Chuck Hunt. And shouting out a couple of other folks in the show, in the lab. The lab lecturers are in for their lectures. So with that, let me give a shout out to Texas Southern University. They are one of 20 institutions, one of 3 HBCUs, the only institution in the state of Texas, one of 2 SWAC institutions that got a grade of A for their women head Title IX women perspective in terms of where they sit on athletics, their grade for how they are dealing with women in head positions such as coaching. So I want to give them a shout out in regards to what got done there. And then you get baseball players. Fields got drafted today. Shout out.
Yeah.
He was able to get done. That was pretty big news. I don't even think it's out there yet, but he was taken, I think, the second of the last pick, but he was able to get drafted. That's big news for Texas Southern University. First time in 13 years that has happened for 13 years for Texas Southern University. So I want to put that out there. Thought that was big news. Any thoughts on that, or did you want to go in a different direction, Charles?
No, I mean, I think that's huge news in terms of Texas Southern with regards what they were able to get done with Title IX. I think, those are the things that Dr. Ville, you rightly should point out and bring to the forefront with regards to our HBCU community. So kudos to Texas Southern's athletic department.
No doubt about it. Mike, what are your thoughts on former 3-star Trevor Willard headed to the Winston-Salem State from HBCU game day, landed the 3-star athlete Appalachian State transfer? Is coming in at the Division II level. Winston-Salem State has been out of the news a little bit of late, but they were dominating there at CIAA for a while, and then obviously Virginia State took the lead out of the Northern Division, and then Bowie State has done their thing. You got Virginia Union sneaking around in the chicken coop, as they say. But what do you think this means for Winston-Salem State as we start to integrate back into CIAA? Giving a shout out to some of our CIAA folks out there. Giving you a shout out. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Oh, I think it's a reload. If you look at it, Appalachian State, going back several years since their big win over Michigan, they've been kind of fluctuating between in the limelight and out of the limelight, but they've always been able to attract quality stars. And so to get one of those stars to go to Winston-Salem State, to me, is huge. So now you have a Winston-Salem State that is always competitive on the football side as well as the baseball side, getting just another class athlete. To me, it's just a case of, here's another team that's reloading. They got a 3-star, 4-star athlete. I don't think it'll be the last, personally.
Great point that it's probably not going to be the last. Charles, let me go in a different direction with you. I want to go a little bit more on the business side. I usually tease Mike on this, but I'm going to let you get a piece of this. You did come out Masters of Science, a sports studies, sports leadership program. So I know that you have a framework for business as well. FAMU becomes the first HBCU reserve game day parking from HBCUBuzz.com. Puts that out there. FAMU has been on top of it. They were right there in terms of name, image, and likeness. A lot of things are going on with Courtney Gaucher. Obviously, the big news with the move, but much quieter, but oftentimes more impactful in some ways. The other things that he is and people of his staff are really pushing the envelope in terms of what they're doing to modernize a lot of parts of that athletic program. What are your thoughts on that from a business perspective?
I think that's the thing right there, the modernization of the athletic department. And you take your hat off to Courtney Gaucher in terms of what they're doing in FAMU. They are pushing the narrative and really moving the needle with regards to them coming into the SWAC and just doing a bunch of different things. I'm excited about the Florida A&M Rattlers being in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And, what happens with regards to that is imitation is the best form of flattery. So I expect that you would have other institutions kind of look at what are the best practices of an institution and try to adopt those practices, and it makes it all better for all of us as HBCU football fans.
No doubt about it. As we get prepared to go to a break, I did want to bring up, this is intriguing and appropriate. Not that we like to see these kind of moves based on why it happened, but it is updated news and certainly is a great opportunity. Morehouse College names interim basketball coach from HBCU Game Day. Morehouse College Department of Intercollegiate Athletics announced on Friday that Douglas Whitler, who has served as associate head coach with the basketball program since 2015, will serve as the interim head basketball coach for 21-22 season following the untimely passing of the head coach Grady Brewer in late May. So that's going to be fascinating to see what opportunities that lay ahead for Coach Whitler in terms of what's going on there. Whitler was recruited multiple all-conference player and as was instrumental in the development of Tyrus Walker, Omar Alston, Rod Williams, and Andre Nelson, all who signed pro contracts in terms of what he was able to do after his previous stops in a lot of ways. Morehouse says that they will do a national search, so that'll be fascinating to see. Will he, in a lot of ways, take that off the table in terms of what he's able to do this season? So this is a chance to kind of make that work. Whitler graduated from Morehouse in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in kinesiology. He and his wife, Kim, reside in Atlanta, have 3 children, Savannah, Sir, and Remy. So that's big news, great opportunity for him. Let's take our first break after this first quarter. It moved so fast and furious. Even though I couldn't get Charles Bishop or Mike Washington really lay it down in terms of what was going to be out there, they wouldn't come in there with me. Maybe I can get the lab lecturers out there to tell me what will be the big news coming out of there. Keep that with you, Charles.
Coach Prime will be the big news in SWAC Media Day. There.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. Somebody. Mike, you want another shot at it?
Who'd you say, Coach who?
Okay, bet.
Coach who?
Yes.
That's
I
pretty
love
good.
it.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
How they play, boy, you gon' learn today. How your team they play. How they play, yeah. We represent that SWAC. That MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We have our guest of the show today, none other than Justin Tabor. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Let me get that straight. Let me ask you before we go any further. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yes, sir, you did.
Oh, man, I love it when I get it right. He is the Vice President of Lone Star Sports, Inc., and he is the managing the Arlington Football Showdown. As you all know, as you can see in the background, I really like the branding of them. That's how we do it. Southern University and Texas Southern University, a Global Life Park. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Tell us as we get into this, before we get into the meat and potatoes, a lot of this, really telling us why people need to attend this, what is going on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm a native of Dallas, Texas. I graduated from high school from DeSoto High School. And so we have, some notable alumni such as Von Miller and things of that sort, NFL caliber players. And I received my undergrad degree from Prairie View A&M University with a undergrad in mass communication. So even during the undergrad, yes, sir. So
no,
even
we're just making sure you understood that. You give you a little flavor, Talk about that. Get it excited sometimes. We're gonna make it light, but go ahead, please continue.
Yes, sir. And so even during the undergrad, I had an opportunity to actually broadcast. I had a radio station there at 91.3 KPVU, and I also had the opportunity to cover the athletic department with Mr. Leonard Moon. I don't know if you guys know him, but he has years of experience. Yes,
very much so.
Also, I was able to obtain my master's degree from Prairie View too, as well, in community development. And so since graduating with my master's degree, I had an opportunity to work at Prairie View in their athletic department when Mr. Ashley Robinson was the athletic director in their academic enhancement department. And then from there, I ventured off into sports management, where I was the directing manager of 610 Sports Management, which was an agency based out of the Houston area. And so since then, I had an opportunity to move back to Dallas. And so I started working on community initiatives. And so I've had the opportunity to partner with the Texas Rangers to bring HBCU Football Classic to the Arlington area, which is branded as the Arlington Football Showdown, which will feature Southern University versus Texas Southern University on October the 9th.
No doubt about it. Let's dig a little more into that. Previous to the game, first year, obviously took a year off from COVID-19, appropriately so in so many different ways. First year was in Dallas. It was in the State Fair Classic. Tell us why move, and it sounds like you are an integral part of that. Why move from Dallas to Arlington?
Well, even when you're looking at the grand scope of, you talk about sports and entertainment, I just thought the move from Arlington was pretty much, in a sense, a upgrade. As you can kind of take an overview of Arlington, they do have a lot of amenities around, as well as they have a track record as far as hosting other larger games on larger scales. When you talk about the Cotton Bowl and even moving the Rose Bowl from California here to Arlington, they do have a lot of amenities. Even just the dimensions as far as the stadium. It's a smaller stadium with Globe Life Park, seats about 40,000, but it does come with AstroTurf, as well as we do have premium VIP suites. So that way the fans and alumni can come, experience the VIP as far as amenities that the stadium does have to offer. And so just looking at the bigger picture, I know, you do have the Prairie View and Grambling at the State Fair, but then also, if you bring the same demographic, 3 weeks later, why not, put yourself in an opportunity to actually have a game in this particular area? You're talking about Arlington, Texas, as well as, with the amenities that they do have around. So it's most definitely a good opportunity. The Texas Rangers are excited about it, as well as the city of Arlington. And so we're looking forward to making sure this is an event that people are looking forward to for years to come.
Oh, check that out, man. I like the way he architect and broke that down. I can see that's a lot of Prairie View written all over that.
Oh, yes. Yes, sir. You gotta give them a little breakdown. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I see that, the sport managing part of that. So let me let Charles jump in here, ask a follow-up question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how important is it to engage that Texas Southern and Southern alumni fan base up there in the Dallas, Arlington area, because they both have huge alumni fan bases up there?
I know, just going into the future, just, making sure we can put ourselves in a position to be more inclusive, and that comes from everything to making sure we can meet with the alumni on a regular basis, as well as including them with a lot of ancillary events that we do have. And then also, you're talking about two distinguished HBCUs with Texas Southern University. It does have a large alumni base, even here in the Dallas area, as well as Southern University that has a large alumni base too, as well, that loves to travel. And so, when presented with this opportunity, I knew it was going to be important to most definitely make sure we can reach out to the alumni bases. And so what we've been doing recently is just hosting meetings, as well as providing them other opportunities to participate with us in our ancillary events. And so we have a nice lineup throughout the week. And even in the future, we're looking to create other initiatives, not just the weekend of the game, but throughout the year. And I just think, once you're kind of able to reach out to the alumni as well as the fan base, it's more than football. when it comes down to this initiative, we want to make sure to provide these universities platforms for sure.
No doubt about it. Before I let Mike jump back in here, I wanted to catch you on that. You talked about some ancillary events. Tell us a little bit about the ancillary events.
Okay, and so on Thursday, we will have a college fair, which will be based primarily for middle school and high school students, looking to provide for them other options and providing a platform for Texas Southern as well as Southern University to present information, as well as with the neighboring independent school districts. And so we have a partnership with Arlington ISD, as well as we're working with Mansfield ISD to allow the kids to experience recruiters to come in and give them the information, whether it might be financial aid, also application information to make sure that they can get this information on these schools, as well as for recruitment purposes. Also, in regards to Friday, we do have a alumni golf tournament, which we will have at the Texas Rangers golf course. And so that's a PGA golf course. And so we'll be working in conjunction with both alumni groups, as well as partners and sponsors, just to come together in camaraderie of friendly golf, action. And then also on Saturday, we do have a tailgate plan, which will be at 12 o'clock noon before the game. And the game is scheduled for 4 o'clock kickoff time.
Well, it's a perfect introduction back to Mike Washington. He's our resident tailgate expert.
Okay.
And so he has a segment during the football season that really goes in and tells us about either tailgate recipes or who has the best tailgate or who doesn't, where they fall. But I know we won't belabor the point. So I'll let Mike jump back in here, which is a good point, because one thing when you talk about the facilities, it's a lot harder to do the tailgate because you have the fair at the State Fair Classic, but it sounds like now at Arlington, that's going to be a bigger part of this. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, your two famous previous statements really get into my question. What's going to be done? What nuances do you have to really enhance the game day experience? I think as Dr. Cavil alluded to, you have the State Fair, you have the marching in of the bands through the alley, you have designated areas for tailgating. And those tailgating areas are distinctive. This stadium is a little bit more intimate, 40,000 seat seating. I don't know if parking is a trouble. So what things have you done to really enhance the game day HBCU experience, from tailgating, from the bands marching in to the bands staying in one place and performing? Have you been able to incorporate that into this game day experience?
Yes, sir. And so what we're looking to do, I know, we're missing the fair atmosphere. One advantage that we do have with being in Arlington, it kind of cuts down on the traffic. And so, previously we had the last weekend of the State Fair. And so when you do an outreach and kind of reach out to, older alumni, it might be a hassle as far as parking space or even walking on there. With us having the event at Globe Life Park, we have came to agreement with the Texas Rangers to have a tailgate, which will be in the parking lot, but it also will allow people to bring their RVs too as well. And we will have the full festive experience, which will start at 12 noon. And then we'll most definitely have the bands to arrive early. That way we can make sure that our fans, even being with the spring season and, people not having the opportunity to see the bands, we want to most definitely to make sure to display that on full throttle that weekend. And so our main thing is just making sure we can kind of create, great initiatives with the alumni as well as the experience, from everything, from eating occasional dishes, whether it might be the Texas barbecue or also the Cajun, seafood, from alumni and things of that sort from Southern University, and just making sure, people can kind of get out and enjoy themselves, with the spring semester. A lot of people didn't have an opportunity to get out. And so that's what we're looking to do, is most definitely kind of provide for them that opportunity ahead of time before the game, the pregame experience, as well as we're looking to add a couple entertainment pieces towards the game a little bit later on. Yes, sir.
Tailgate jambalaya.
Yes, sir.
Tailgate jambalaya.
Yes, sir.
He must, on his checklist, A+, so he's gonna, you got to watch Mike. He's going to be out there trying to try the food next.
Exactly.
With that being said, Justin, let us give you a chance to expound on some things that we may not have asked you that you are very important that you want to get out there.
Okay. Well, I just think this game is a very good opportunity, with it being here in the North Texas area. I think it's a really good opportunity for these schools to have this platform. As I stated earlier, I'm a graduate of Prairie View A&M, so, I'm a very avid supporter of Prairie View and Grambling. But also when you talk about HBCUs, the ability to bring in other schools that are distinguished to the North Texas area, I think that's really big. And so, I don't take it lightly as far as the opportunity, and our main thing as far as Lone Star Sports Incorporated is as far as going in the futures and making sure that we can provide other opportunities for schools to come and not just, for athletics, but also for recruitment purposes. If you talk about the North Texas area, not just with football, you have a lot of students that are based out of Dallas Fort Worth, and just being able to kind of reach out to them on the grassroots. Yeah. That's really big, so even, when I was younger, I had an opportunity to kind of attend some games before I went to college, but there are a lot of kids that don't even get a chance to attend HBCU Classic of this magnitude. So that's what we're really big on, is just reaching out as far as the grassroots. If we can, reach out to the kids as well as present these opportunities and these events to them, it kind of opens up their eyes as far as HBCUs, and then also kind of gives them an early start as far as where they might want to go to college. And so, I know my first game, it left a lasting impression on myself. And, I started, doing research on Prairie View as well as other HBCUs. And so, just with this opportunity, we're looking to enhance it as well as partner with the right entities, as well as make sure that we can provide these schools a great platform. And so that's what we're looking forward to going into the future.
No doubt about it. Really a great job. I do want to sneak in one more question as we get into this break, as you did that, because you bring up a point in terms of extending beyond the Texas Southern University and Southern University in terms of a classic that brings in a flavor of a lot of HBCUs. And obviously you heard about the fact that the SWAC has expanded to FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, but it's my understanding that FAMU has a significant alumni base in Dallas.
Yes, sir.
How does that figure in now? Do you do anything different than you would have done in the past with them now being a conference member versus you reaching out to general HBCU graduates, whether it's Langston, Wiley College, Paul Quinn, Houston Tillerson, to name a few? Could you talk about that quickly in terms of what that looks like?
Yeah, what we try to do is most definitely try to reach out to them. It is a pleasure to actually have them be a part of the SWAC, but then, as far as the HBCU experience, and then even, having an extension to reach out, to the alumni base as well as have them be a part, because at the end of the day, this is an initiative that we would love to highlight, our featured teams, but then there are other opportunities, in the future too as well. And so even when you're looking about being in the North Texas area, it's not, necessarily about these two schools, but it's other opportunities that we want to most definitely collaborate with other HBCU universities, such as, the education piece or also the outreach. And so I just think, when you have opportunities not like this, it's not just about whose whole school is being in attendance, but it's bigger than that. It's about supporting your HBCUs. If any HBCU is playing, whether it's the Prairie View, Grambling, or the Arlington Football Showdown, I think it's very integral that us as HBCU alumni get out and support, because that's it means the world, but it also helps enhance what we're trying to do as far as being in these opportunities, whether it might be in Dallas or also in Arlington and Tarrant County.
No problem with it. This is Dr. Will inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I think Charles wanted to ask another question. So if you don't mind, if you stick with us through this break,
yes, sir.
Hold on, we'll bring you back, and then we can close out and go to a second break right after that. This is Dr. Will inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Stick with us. We'll be right back after the second quarter. We'll take this quick break, and we'll come back into the third as we have a big follow-up question by Charles. Look out. You know where he's going to go. Justin said he stayed with us, so we appreciate you taking up a little more of your time. But this is a great interview, great information, so we want to make sure we get all of it in. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
You gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, tune into the HBCU.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We had a follow-up question for Justin from Charles. Go ahead, Charles. Get into it.
Sure thing, Justin. And I wanted to ask, with the Dallas area being like an epicenter of HBCU alumni from across a wide range of schools, would the Arlington Football Showdown be open to extending invitations to other HBCU institutions?
Yes, sir. And so we're most definitely working in conjunction with a couple of HBCU groups that actually highlight the alumni. And so we have made preparations to even have a couple of initiatives to even where we provide certain sections for certain schools, as well as the activations that we do have pregame too as well. So we're most definitely looking at to reach out to other HBCU alums to make sure we can get full support for this event.
But what about other potential football teams beyond Southern or Texas Southern?
Oh, yes, sir. We're most definitely looking into other options, in the long term. But as far as this year, yes, sir, we'll most definitely have two great teams which are featured. And then also in the long term, when you talk about amenities and things that are sort of Arlington, Texas, it's room for growth. And so, as you know, you do have the Globe Life Park as well as AT&T, which is adjacent. So we're most definitely open to opportunities to make sure this initiative can be taken to the next level in the future. Yes, sir.
No doubt about it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great point. When you look at it too, I love when you talk about the amenities, including suites, and the fact that you have a tier step approach for those that just want to be in the stands, those that may want to be close to the bands, those that want a little more luxury in the suites. You have all those demographics in your fan base, and the fact that you looked at creating an environment to serve multiple people, including tailgate outside of the game. What does that look like? So great business move in terms of understanding that. One thing that we talk about quite a bit in terms of understanding the landscape of HBCU folks, that it's not monolithic. It's a breadth of folks that follow HBCUs with different expectations in different frameworks. So with that, let me let Mike answer another follow-up question I consider off the top of his tongue that he wanted to get out.
Yeah, Justin, just to kind of piggyback off of what we were talking about, the Dallas area has a multitude of different representatives from different HBCUs. So as you approach this event, well, how do you define success? What does that look like going into this year and then going into next year? How do you build off of that? Is it defined monetarily? Is it defined in other ways? And then how will you, plan to leverage off that from a business standpoint?
Okay, I just think, first and foremost, the support is big, but, at the end of the day, the attendance factor is big. With you being in a new location as far as Arlington, Tarrant County, you want to most definitely make sure you do have a lasting impression, but also, make sure you do have other extensions as far as your outreach and marketing approach. And so, going forth into the future, we're looking to add different elements to where we, can be more inclusive with our alumni, but also, kind of bring on other stakeholders within the community, the HBCU community. And so, first and foremost, attendance is big business wise, but then also, making sure that our fan base, as well as the people that are attending the game, they do have a good time. It's not just about the football game, but we want to provide a full festive experience from Thursday all the way to Sunday. So even just having the game at Arlington, where the hotels are pretty much within a 1 or 2 mile radius, I think convenience is key. And so, as well as the optics that we do have for the stadium, being able to highlight our certain partners, as well as sponsors and different components, I think that is key too as well. So, first and foremost on the business wise, attendance is big, but also the support from the HBCU community, as well as from our neighboring partners with the Texas Rangers in the city of Arlington is big for us. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
You're welcome.
Justin, one additional question. I want you to take off your Vice President of Lone Star Sports Inc. hat just for a minute, but go back in terms of your analytic minds and as you have traveled marketing and building the framework of understanding the market of HBCU sports. Whether it's in Dallas or outside of that, moving from football to basketball, do you think there is room? Is it functional to look at maybe a basketball classic? Your expertise in terms of you going into the data, is that realistic or is that far-fetched in your opinion?
I think it's most definitely realistic, but you have to have, I guess, certain components that can come kind of, be tailored towards the basketball model. As far as North Texas, I think it is, an ideal area. You talk about Dallas, Fort Worth, but even, with the city of Arlington, if you look at the landscape as far as sports and entertainment, they're pretty much the entertainment mecca when you talk about coming from Atlanta all the way to Vegas. But as far as the basketball format, I think it's something that's most definitely doable in the North Texas area. If you just kind of add a couple amenities as far as the entertainment, but also, grassroots initiatives such as working with the local high schools and bringing in, other grassroots programs and initiatives. I think this will be a great opportunity in the future. Yes, sir.
Well, I thank you for that information. Great information for our lab lecturers out there and our listeners. They've gotten a lot of it, and they chimed in talking about maybe they want to be recruiting for Jackson State University. I don't know if Charles was trying to put it out there, but hey, these folks are working. You don't have to answer that, Justin. We won't get you. Make sure you keep your VP title now. These folks here will work, and you got to watch yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate it.
We closed out the interview with Justin Tabor, Vice President of Lone Star Sports, Inc., as he is managing the football showdown between Southern University, Texas Southern University, and Globe Life Park. What is the date, and how can they get tickets again?
The date is Saturday, October the 9th, and you can get tickets on thearlingtonshowdown.com, and you'll be able to go on and get the tickets as well as parking, as well as tailgating.
No doubt about it. Thank you for your time, Justin. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Break. We're going to take a timeout, if you would. Maybe we'll just get into the fourth quarter. We can do it big, but we're going to take a break. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this quick break as we closed up with our interview with Justin Tabor, the Vice President of Lone Star Sports. Stick with us right after this break.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Shop Melvin online.
You gon' learn today how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee State? You tune into the HBCU Sports.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Got Charles rapping a little bit about Tennessee State. Man, he must be feeling a little bit good about this Southern Heritage Classic this year. I see coming into you. I know what it's going to be. As you finally dropped the dime, you said the talk of the show going to be Coach Prime. I know it. Some people would say, I'm not so fast to be FAMU. You did tease a little bit about Alcorn moving to the West. So you covered your bases pretty nicely there, Charles. I know about that. Let's get back into it. I really want to talk a little bit, since we're coming out of this business perspective. News was out there, about a Dr. Valerie Daniels Carter is the Milwaukee Bucks owner and proud HBCU grad. Coming out of HBCU game day, they talked about, as it floated out there, that she was an African-American Black woman that had ownership, the only African-American Black individual that had ownership in the Milwaukee Bucks. And then you find out that she has a connection in terms of the fact that she's a proud graduate of Lincoln University of Missouri. In business, she now helms a 4-state conglomerate of over 100 multi-brand restaurant franchises: Burger King's, Pizza Hut, Auntie Anne's Soft Pretzel, Captain D's Seafood, among others. Yeah, we need to talk with her about sponsorship. She got it going on. Maybe she wants to show us some HBCU love for the show. But in all seriousness, kudos to her in terms of what she's able to get done. And she's parlayed that into a minority stake in Milwaukee Bucks franchise. 221 Eastern Division champions now playing for the NBA Finals versus the Phoenix Suns. I know there's some people out there that come out of that area that just can't do it in terms of mixing and matching between the different departments in terms of those regional matchups up there. But she also is the board of directors of her beloved, as she says it, Green Bay Packers. Boy, I tell you, she is rolling all in it. And a woman at that, getting it done.
Big time.
So get your thoughts on this. I'm going to start with you, Mike. This is fascinating in so many different ways. Quietly, folks finding ways to get some things done and parlaying in multiple ways. Fascinating to hear her background in terms of what she's been able to put together with V&J Holding Company.
Yep, V&J Holdings. I mean, 60 Pizza Hut locations, 38 Burger King stores between Milwaukee and Detroit. I mean, you talk about just a vast conglomerate that she's sitting on right there. And you think of, how long it's taken not only a female, but an African-American female who has ties to an HBCU. You can stop right there, put a dot on it, put the exclamation point, and then drop the mic. I mean, and then she's one of the owners for the former Eastern Conference champ Milwaukee Bucks. So, I mean, that is phenomenal right there by in and of itself. So, and it seems quietly done. We're just hearing about this. This didn't happen overnight, but We're just now hearing about this and a woman of this stature. So I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great. She has not forgotten about the community and continues to do community outreach with youth and empowerment centers in a number of locations. So she seems well-grounded in addition to being very wealthy, of course.
Motivational speaker, life coach, and humanitarian. Charles, What do you say?
That's huge. When you take a look at her portfolio, I mean, the things that jumped out at me, four-state conglomerate of over 100 multi-brand restaurant franchises. We mentioned the Burger Kings, the Pizza Huts, the Auntie Annie's, Soft Pretzels, Captain D's. But what also jumped out at me was 2017. She was appointed the first female African-American president of American Automobile Association. 60 million members. So, and then, you pair that with a stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. This was a huge article by HBCU Game Day. So kudos to those guys over there for, bringing this to life for all of us HBCU fans.
Yeah, definitely. Kudos again. I agree. Kudos, hats off to HBCU Game Day for bringing this to light.
I want to get back in a little bit more of the football talk. Y'all wouldn't play with me and entertain me earlier, but I'm going to start with you, Charles, because you talk about this program in regards to who's coaching dance, and that he has the ability to navigate the space at Mississippi Valley State maybe better than anyone, certainly the previous couple of coaches, because of what he knows about the state of Mississippi and just the type of individual he is. So Mississippi Valley State football adds to the staff of HBCU Game Day also reports. Give me a little insight in terms of what do you think this may have in terms of Mississippi Valley State continuing to move in a positive direction. And embedded in that question is to get you back in some ways in terms of next Tuesday for the SWAC Media Day. Are they going to be able to move past being at the bottom of the Eastern Division? It gets tougher now. There's more teams in there.
Yeah.
That means there's another chance for you to take another step. What do you see in totality for Mississippi Valley in terms of what this means for this move?
The big thing I've seen with Coach Dancy is being able to bring a better talent into Mississippi Valley State. They were active in the transfer portal, went out and got them a quarterback and some other pieces. But one of the big things that I've always taken notice about Coach Dancy is the hard hat approach in terms of making sure that team is more disciplined. And I got a glimpse of it this past spring, with regards to them playing Jackson State. that score was not indicative of how hard Mississippi Valley State played. They played a very solid game, and he gets it done in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. Mississippi Valley has one of the tougher defensive front sevens, I think, in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. It's only a matter of time before the offensive part starts kind of matching up a little bit better with the defense to where the defense is on the field as much. So I think Mississippi Valley is definitely trending in the right direction. And Coach Danzig, this is a coup for the program. They went out and got Kent Evans, who was quarterback coach at UAPB. We saw what UAPB was able to do this past spring. Their offense looked worlds better in terms of what they were able to get done this spring. And now he comes over to Mississippi Valley as the offensive coordinator. So I'm really expecting Valley to really give teams tough football games this upcoming fall.
I'm going to stay with this football, Mike, but I'm going to take you in a different direction. I'm going to take you back into Texas. Louisville transfer quarterback Jawan Pass commits to Prairie View. I want to know your perspective in terms of, does this do anything significant for Prairie View in terms of what their fans may have in terms of the expectation on the western side of the ball? Obviously, it's loaded in the West. You have Southern that had a solid spring football season. They were only outdone by one other than Pine Bluff Golden Lions. Now, they've had some transfer out, but they've quietly brought some people in as well. Obviously, you have a well-coached, solid program down there. And then not to mention that you have Alcorn State coming over to the West, which is chomping at the bits to get back on the field. Talk about Prairie View first in terms of that framework of what does it mean to you to hear that this move is taking place for Prairie View, similar to the way that I framed that with Charles. What does this overall look at Prairie View?
So, yeah, you lost some key pieces on defense for Prairie View, but one of the biggest questions has been, the quarterback position. That's been a question mark for the past couple of full seasons, to be honest. And now you get the transfer from Louisville, solid performance, solid background, who brings, if he continues to perform, if he plays well in two-a-days, if he can get into that scheme, now you bring a formidable offensive threat on the offensive side. So Prairie View has done well defensively. They've lost a few pieces. Now, what can they do? Now you flip the script and you bring a solid piece on the offensive side. Last year, you saw several wide receivers that they brought, one from DeSoto, a couple of some from out of state. So the wide receiver piece has been there. So now you bring a quarterback who can now be at the helm of the offense and captain that offense. You just hope that the defense hasn't lost a step. But now you bring some stability and some excitement, for that matter. If you look at all of the PVAMU chatter lines, there's a lot of excitement about this guy coming from Louisville. So I think it brings an element of excitement, but the jury is still out because we've gotten excited and fell in love with quarterbacks before as well.
Charles, let me go back to you, not necessarily in terms of the storyline, but you go inside the numbers. You read all the magazines. You're heavy in terms of seeing what's the latest news of the day, from the back channels to the up channels. Tell us, what are some key things that took place in the off season in terms of the SWAC that has captured your eye that you think people need to be maybe reminded of, or things that they really need to consider in terms of this Tuesday coming up? What is really getting into your mind in terms of what people should consider?
I think the biggest storyline is we're walking in the dark, I think, going into the fall because there has been so much upheaval with regards to the transfer portal. Jackson, you take a look at Jackson State. That is going to be a completely different team than what you saw in the spring. And by all accounts, and I think Coach Brian Beyond Sanders will tell you that they've upgraded across the board. So I think that's one of those things, people ask about sleeper teams. Well, that's a team that obviously, you kind of have to keep an eye on. I was very impressed, I think, with Alabama State in terms of their young offensive line, but they showed that they could be dominant with Ezra Gray. It's things like that you kind of keep an eye on. But I think in so many ways, because of the transfer portal, there are a lot of things that you just don't know at this point. You know, normally around this time, you get, you know, go through spring practice, you kind of have an idea of what's coming back and who's going to be there in the fall and who is cemented as starters. But I think with the unfamiliarity, at least with Florida A&M coming from the MEAC, the unfamiliarity with Bethune-Cookman coming in, there are just some pieces that you're just not as familiar with, but you know they bring strong teams. So I'm really looking forward to some of these coaches really pulling the curtain back so that we become more acquainted with some of these teams. Florida A&M has a safety, Marquise Bell, that I'm really looking forward to watching this upcoming season. But there are so many pieces. I can go from team to team to team, and you hear coaches talk about, I got this guy, I got this guy, I got this guy. You better watch out for this guy. And it keeps you kind of grounded and kind of looking around like, wow, this is going to be a 2021 fall season to remember, because I think the parity in the league is such that it's going to be a dogfight week in, week out.
Man, I think I got him wind up, Mike. I think I got him ready. He's primed and ready for Tuesday. All the lab lecture listeners out there, check us out. We'll be ready to go and bring you all the hottest news in terms of next Tuesday. Watch out for Charles. He'll be doing double duty. He's going to bring it from the pregame show as well as inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So follow him on Twitter, Instagram, so he can tell you which way he's moving. And I don't think you want to miss any of that. Mike, you're going to be there as well. All along the same lines, what really has you on your mind? What are you thinking about in regards to what some of the people should think and consider out there before we move on beyond the SWAC and get into some of the other programs, turn to CIAA, SIAC, MEAC, obviously Tennessee State out of the OVC, Hampton, and North Carolina A&T in terms of the Big South, and then some of our Division II NIA independent programs. We'll get a chance after the SWAC Media Day to go in those a little more, but before that, in terms of the SWAC Media Day, much like what Charles said, what is on your mind?
Yeah, I think you got a hodgepodge of folks coming in via the transfer portal, but you got folks who are still there. You know, you still got Akil Glass at Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
You still got a veteran. So you still got some folks that are there. You still got, you know, Arkansas Pine Bluff still there. You've got a new coaching staff. They're not going anywhere. You didn't have Alcorn State there, so they go to the West. Their team doesn't appear, hopefully, to have fallen out. But yet, you match that with all of this transfer portal activity. It's kind of a question mark. What's, you know, are the folks that are there and already in place really going to be the hold the advantage, or is it the new blood that's coming in? So to me, that's the big thing. That's the excitement of it. Is, you know, you got Akil Glass still here. You got the quarterback from Alabama, Arkansas Pine Bluff still there. That kid plays phenomenal. So it's enough to get you really excited. Who's going to stand out in this spring? And oh, by the way, we got FAMU coming in. And oh, by the way, we have Bethune coming in. And as Charles alluded to, FAMU has a plethora of players that, you know, you really are just now, to me, at least from my perspective, from a plan's perspective, you're really just now starting to hear about. So that boils up in all of this excitement.
Yeah, prior to Jackson State having that #1 recruiting class this past year, it was Florida A&M that had the
It was
FAMU. So, you know, it's going to be fun.
They kicked off in Miami. One thing I'm interested to see, you know, when you go in there, it's always exciting to see the jersey. This year, we add 2 different jerseys. So I want to see what jerseys will be on the mannequin for FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, just to tease. So that's something that I have in my mind ready to take pictures. What does that look like? Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from Inside the HBCU Lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest coming in, Justin Tabor, in regards to the game that's featuring Southern and Texas Southern in Arlington this year. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's KENYATTHCAVIL. That's DR KENYATTHCAVIL. Inside HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Facebook is Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Also on YouTube, as you know, on demand. Subscribe. Continue to hit us up. Dream big. We'll continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.